Welcome to today's explainer. We're jumping right into the deep end to unpack the profound meaning behind one of the absolute shortest yet most powerful chapters in the Quran, Surah Al-Asr. We're going to explore how a text that's over 1,000 years old provides this laser-focused reality check for how we spend our time right now, today. And to kick things off, we're starting with a completely unforgettable metaphor.
Okay, picture this. You're in the bustling, ancient markets of Baghdad. The sun is absolutely beating down, it's sweltering, and right there in the middle of the chaotic crowd stands an ice seller. He is frantically pleading with anyone who will listen. He's crying out, "My capital is turning to water! For the sake of God, hurry!" He's literally begging the crowd to buy his melting ice before his entire livelihood just vanishes into the dirt.
Now you're probably wondering, what in the world does melting ice have to do with human life? Well, this deeply emotional story hits the nail on the head when it comes to the core message of Surah Al-Asr. Human life is exactly like that block of melting ice. It's slipping away, drop by drop, second by second, whether we use it purposefully or whether we just stand there paralyzed and watch it melt away.
Or, if you want a more modern way to visualize it, think of it like a bizarre, high-stakes contract. Imagine you're handed the keys to a massive room completely packed with cash. Sounds great, right? But there's a terrifying catch. Every single passing second, those bills turn to ash. If you don't spend that wealth on something meaningful and quickly, you'll eventually open the door to find absolutely nothing but dust. You lose the whole shebang. That room full of cash? That is your time.
Section 1. The Early Era of Makki.
So, to really grasp this message, we have to rewind and look at the context of when this chapter was actually revealed. We're talking about the incredibly difficult, highly tense early days of Makki. During this time, the message of the Quran was just starting to spread, and it was causing a massive disruption to the status quo. The city's powerful leaders, guys like Abu Jahl, were terrified of its influence. In fact, they were so scared of this message spreading that they literally ordered arriving caravans and travelers to shove cotton into their ears before they even crossed the city limits.
They would warn these travelers, saying things like, "There is a magician in Makki whose words have a strange attraction. Whoever hears them leaves the faith of their forefathers." They feared these words on a totally visceral level because anyone who heard them was deeply moved. They felt this overwhelming compulsion to completely change their entire way of life.
But as you might guess, the leaders' plans completely failed. And this brilliantly shows just how powerful these early revelations were. Chapters like Surah Al-Asr were so short but packed such a massive punch that they literally pierced a person's heart before they could even get their fingers up to block their ears. The message was just too fast and way too profound to be ignored.
Section 2. Asr and Human Loss.
Getting into the actual text of the chapter, it famously begins with the Creator taking a divine oath by time itself, specifically using the Arabic word asr. And what's absolutely fascinating here is the linguistic depth of that specific word. Classical scholars explain that asr has 3 hidden, very visual meanings. First, it's the physical act of squeezing. Think of the squeezing of a person's lifespan as they're pushed into old age. Second, it's the fading evening of the day. That tiny window before the sun completely disappears. And third, it represents the relentless passage of historical eras that literally swallows up kings and entire empires. After swearing by this intense, squeezing nature of time, the text drops a devastating verdict. Innal insana lafi khusr. Every single individual is drowning inside loss. The grammar they use here is incredibly specific. It singles out every individual human being. Basically, you can't just hide in the crowd. Plus, the phrasing implies we aren't just standing near loss, we are entirely submerged inside it, literally like a fish drowning in water. To really wrap our heads around this, scholars break down this concept of loss into 3 distinct levels. Level 1 is khusr, meaning the loss has officially kicked off. The clock starts ticking the absolute second you're born. Level 2 is khasara, where the loss is complete and steadily deepening. And finally, you hit level 3, khusran, which is a state of total, irreversible bankruptcy. That's when all your ice is melted, the ash is settled, and your time is gone forever. No way out.
Now, a super interesting question pops up here. Why is only mankind in this state of loss, while animals and plants aren't? Well, animals are driven purely by instinct, right? They just do what they're programmed to do, so they don't have a choice. But humans, we possess capital in the form of our time, and way more importantly, we have the conscious free will to trade it. Because we get to choose how to spend our time, we carry the massive risk of making a terrible trade.
Section 3.
Conditions to escape loss.
Thankfully, the text doesn't just leave us with this terrifying, hopeless problem. It immediately pivots and gives us the ultimate solution. To escape this total bankruptcy, 4 specific conditions absolutely must be met. Step 1, having true faith. Step 2, performing righteous deeds. Step 3, advising each other to the truth. And step 4, advising each other to patience. Think of this like a 4-digit combination lock on a safe. You need all 4 numbers to pop it open. If you're missing even one, you're staying locked out.
Let's look a bit closer at that first condition, belief. True belief isn't just sitting there passively accepting something in your heart. It requires your mind to actively submit. For instance, acknowledging God is one. That's the belief of the heart. But the belief of the mind is obeying commands in the real world. It's doing things like, say, refusing to sign an interest-based credit card contract because you know it goes against your faith. It's actually putting your convictions into practice.
And it's really fascinating to look at the structure of these 4 conditions. Notice how the first 2, belief and righteous deeds, are totally personal duties. They're all about you and your individual actions. But the last 2, mutual advice to truth and patience, those are strictly social duties. The takeaway here is crucial. You literally cannot succeed by isolating yourself in a room, obsessing over your own personal growth, and completely ignoring society. It just doesn't work that way.
You know what's crazy? This chapter doesn't even mention the grand reward of paradise. There's no talk of vast gardens or heavenly rewards here at all. Why? Because simply escaping this terrifying state of loss, just avoiding this total human bankruptcy, is framed as a massive, urgent victory all on its own.
Section 4. Relevance in today's era.
So how does a 1,400-year-old analysis actually apply to our daily habits right now? Well, first and foremost, it teaches us that procrastination is a highly dangerous illusion. The account of time only exists in the present tense. We obviously can't spend yesterday's time, and tomorrow's time hasn't even been deposited into our account yet. The time we have only exists right now, right in this exact moment. So whatever good thing you're planning to do, you gotta do it immediately.
Let me give you a mind-blowing fact that puts this into brutal perspective. Think about this math. 2 hours equals 5 years. If you check your smartphone's screen time right now, just 2 hours of daily mindless scrolling equates to 5 entire years wasted over a 60-year lifespan. 5 years of your precious capital literally turning to ash while you just stare at a piece of glass.
Just think for a second about what you could achieve in those 5 lost years if you managed to get them back. You could learn a completely new language. You could master a modern, high-value skill, like AI or graphic design. You could actively uplift your family, or dedicate some real, tangible time to building up your local community. All of that massive potential is just hiding there in those 2 daily hours.
This ancient wisdom directly challenges today's popular culture. Contrary to all those modern self-help books that constantly tell you to put your blinders on, hustle in silence, and look out for number 1, this text highlights a completely different reality. True success is a collective caravan, not a solo race. If you actually want to escape loss, you have to pull others up with you. You have to advise them to the truth and to patience.
We've covered a lot of ground today, and that brings us to our final provocative thought. The metaphorical market, it's still open. The ice hasn't fully melted yet, and you are still standing there with breath in your lungs. You literally have time in your hands right now, so the ultimate question is, how will you choose to spend your remaining capital today? I'm going to leave you to think on that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.